This is your news source evening bulletin for today, Tuesday, the 9th day of April in the year 2024. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting, and here's what we're tracking tonight. The Ministry of Health today launched the National Mental Health Action Plan and the National Suicide Prevention Plan for Guyana 2024 to 2030, with support of the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization. The plans are expected to provide the country with government-aligned roadmaps that would see the decentralization of mental health services in Guyana, while simultaneously addressing suicide prevention. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony said the Mental Health Action Plan will address the age-old challenge of access to mental health services in Guyana.
As we develop this action plan, some of the things that we have been working on in the ministry is how do we decentralize mental health care. A lot of mental health care was centralized at the Georgetown Public Hospital. And so one of the steps that we have taken is to take this out to other regional hospitals. So now people can access mental health services in Regions 3 and in Regions 2 because we have decentralized care.
Dr. Anthony also said that in compiling the National Mental Health Action Plan, the Health Ministry was cognizant of the fact that it did not accomplish a number of the measures outlined in the previous plan. And with the help of PAHO WHO, a number of those measures were incorporated into the new plan, this time with realistic timelines and goals. Minister Anthony said too that the legislation framework governing both mental health services and suicide prevention in Guyana were revamped.
We were able to enhance what I would say the mental health environment in Guyana, because when we look at the laws that we have in Guyana, they were quite outdated. Some of these things go back to the 1800s. And we really wanted to make sure that they were updated. So one of the first things that we did was to look at the legislation that governs mental health in Guyana. And we were then able to update that legislation, building on work that was done, started by Dr. Ramsamy in 2010. And then we had our first draft of that law, but we weren't able to take it to the Parliament at the time. Then another draft was done somewhere around 2018. And so more recently, we've been able to build on both pieces of legislation, or draft legislation. And we were finally able to pass the Mental Health Promotion and Protection Bill at the time, and now it's a law. Based on that, we have modernized in many respects what we do for mental health, and we have a human rights approach to mental health.
And he said similarly, a new suicide prevention bill was passed in the National Assembly back in 2022, decriminalizing attempted suicide. It also laid the foundation for the establishment of a National Suicide Prevention Commission. PAHO WHO Country Representative Dr. Luis Cardina said the Mental Health Action Plan will help to reform mental health services in Guyana.
The first thing is, how can we reform the mental health sector, that it's inside the health sector, but taken into account that we will not depend or rely on the psychiatric hospital. We will depend on regional hospitals, for example, general hospitals, with a very strong response for crisis. 5 beds, 10 beds of mental health, no more. With people trained, they can manage all the crises at the general hospital. But then these people has to go to the community, to their community. So for that, you need some psychosocial centers that when they need some medication, some follow-up, some psychotherapy, etc., they will find this.
Dr. Cardina said the psychosocial centers will provide medicinal and other services. It was also noted that in some areas, when persons are placed at psychiatric hospitals, their families find it difficult to accept them back, and they're often left with no place to go. He said the plan will also address such issues. Meanwhile, PAHO WHO Assistant Director in Guyana, Dr. Rhonda Seeley Thomas, said PAHO WHO is pleased with the progress made by Guyana in addressing mental health as well as suicide prevention.
PAHO is so pleased with the progress that Guyana has made over the past years to raise the priority given to mental health, strengthen mental health legislation, analyze and address the mental health and psychosocial effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on its citizens, and develop and implement a package of mental health services as the country endeavors to move towards community-based mental health care. PAHO is aware that Guyana, like many countries, experienced challenges from the lingering effects of COVID-19 on mental health of various population groups. We are also aware that prior to the pandemic, barriers to accessing quality mental health and wellness services in the country and limited funding were some of the major and growing contributors to the high mental health burden in the country. So we therefore applaud the Ministry of Health and by extension the government for the marked progress that the country has made in addressing the mental health challenges of the population through the implementation of several concrete actions.
The advisor to the Minister of Health, Dr. Leslie Ramzami, and the Director of Mental Health Unit, Dr. Timothy Morgan, were among the officials present at the Ministry of Health to witness the launch of the action plans. More news coming up in just a moment.
It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true. Or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
It's time for the official Linden Town Week Big People Party. This year, Big Man Door Skylark. Join Go Mosley Entertainment on Thursday the 2nd of May at the Mackenzie Bandstand for 5 big bands: Stitchy, Super Ray, Murphy, the Castro Brothers, and for the first time in Linden, the one-woman band Queen Makiba.
But when I see what I was getting, boy, I start to shiver, cause I know I'm unable with that. Get me young boy.
Plus DJ Granny Ivy will be live. Party like never before. It's a one-man band and one-woman band fete for Linden Town Week. Thursday the 2nd of May at the Mackenzie Bandstand. Big Man Tour Skylark. Compliments of GTT, Sheriff Security, 592 Tees, Banks Beer, Guinness, and XM Rums. Drink responsibly for the official Linden Town Week Big People Party. Big Man Tour Skylark.
Holiday spending put a dent in your cash. Top up your pockets in the Cash Splash promotion. Win over $5 million, including over $1 million in our weekly draws. Just purchase any Buster, Turbo, Fruita, Cool Kids, or Viva. Look for the 8-digit code starting with 786. Then visit Facebook or IG at Buster Guyana or Turbo_Caribbean for more details.
Well, let's tell you now that the Commonwealth Secretary General Patricia Scotland has expressed concern over the recent enactment of a new legislation in Venezuela for the defense of the Essequibo region, which belongs to Guyana. Under the new Venezuelan law, Venezuela purports to exercise control over 2/3 of the sovereign territory of Guyana, creating a new Venezuelan state out of Guyana's Essequibo region. The Secretary General reminded that back in December of last year, the International Court of Justice issued provisional measures in the border case before it. The orders prohibit Venezuela from taking any action which would modify the situation that currently prevails in the Essequibo, whereby Guyana administers and exercises control over the area. The Commonwealth Secretary General said Venezuela's latest actions also appear to directly contravene the ICJ order and the spirit of the Argyle Declaration, where both states agreed to refrain from escalating the conflict. The Commonwealth has reaffirmed that the ICJ process is the appropriate and lawful means to address the matter under international law. In a separate statement, the Organization of American States, the OAS, said regional peace and security depend on stopping the Venezuelan regime from advancing its threatening objectives with regard to Guyana's Essequibo region. The OAS said international law condemns the crime of aggression, condemns the threat of aggression, condemns unilateral actions to resolve bilateral problems, and also condemns non-compliance and violation of current arbitration awards. And as an international community, there must be condemnation over the attitudes and intimidation from Venezuela. According to the Organization of American States, the seriousness of the actions by Venezuela is absolute and unacceptable. Meanwhile, in its statement, CARICOM said in Venezuela's adoption of the new law, it has acted unilaterally, precipitously, and potentially dangerously, and in the process, it has offended the joint declaration of Argyle for dialogue and peace between Guyana and Venezuela, and has also signaled a possible embrace of an unworthy aggression to achieve its own articulated goals or purposes. CARICOM said it acknowledges that both Venezuela and Guyana have divergent stances on the border issues, on all matters consequential to the border controversy, and on the specific modes for their resolution. However, both countries have agreed that the issues and consequential matters are to be resolved peacefully and in accordance with international law and its relevant mechanisms, inclusive of the Geneva Agreement of 1966. CARICOM is urging Venezuela to refrain from any further actions that would hinder regional and hemispheric peace and stability, while insisting that dialogue and an adherence to international law are the only viable paths to achieve a just and lasting settlement of the issues at hand. Venezuela has ignored the condemnation from the international community. Turning now to the oil and gas sector, the government of Guyana has approached the Caribbean Court of Justice to join the court matter where two citizens are challenging the oil company ExxonMobil to provide an unlimited parent guarantee to cover all costs should an oil spill occur here in Guyana. High Court Judge Samuel Kissoon had ordered the Environmental Protection Agency last year to issue an enforcement notice to the ExxonMobil company for the guarantee to be provided. But the oil company and the EPA have appealed the case. The government was not allowed to join the matter at the time. Now that the matter has engaged the Caribbean Court of Justice, Attorney General Anil Nandlal has stated that it is important that the government joins the case because of the potential impact a court ruling could have if the government does not present its side of the story. Mr. Nandlal stated that the government and not the court should decide what protection the country must have from a potential oil spill.
Now that case had the potential and has the potential to shut down the whole oil and gas sector. Because the contention in that case was that there is a legal requirement for a guarantee or some form of financial assurance as is required under the Environmental Protection Agency Act. And the operations are going on in the oil and gas sector without this assurance being in place. As a result, one of the possibilities is that the license can be revoked.
The Attorney General explained that if indeed the license is revoked, then the operations by ExxonMobil and its partners will have to be stopped. He explained that there is a contract between the government and the oil company for the ongoing oil exploration. Therefore, any disruption of the operations will significantly impact the government and its revenue flow.
Now, the government of Guyana draws a significant sum of money in terms of revenue inflow from the oil and gas sector under that agreement. We have said a million times that yes, the agreement is lopsided, but it is the agreement that we have to work with. We can deal with the terms of the agreement later. Now, if I am a member, if I am a party to a contract, and I am to get significant revenue flow from this contract, you would know, and the entire world knows, that our budget, for example, has increased significantly because of the revenue flow from the oil and gas sector. You know that Guyana is under physical, economic, financial, and social transformation, largely driven by revenues that is being derived or that are being derived from the sector under that very agreement.
The Attorney General also said the government's approach to the CCJ is having realized that the oil sector is critical to the public good and developmental agenda to the country.
How can you take a case to the court in relation to this contract, in relation to operations under this contract, in relation to the license issued under the contract, and you are not naming the government as a party?
The matter is expected to be heard soon by the Caribbean Court of Justice.
Hi, my name is Keisha Davis, first of 4 siblings. I'm a mom of 3 and I'm an auditor.
My brother Tariq is a transgender man, which means he was born female but now lives as a man. He's always known himself to be.
He's great at math. I'm horrible. And he actually helps my 12-year-old daughter with her math. As soon as he gets home at night, he'll say, "Jazz, let's go. What would you like me to help you with?" She actually got a prize in school for full score at math and English. Tariq is my rock. Like, honestly, my confidant. No matter what it is, no matter how horrible it might look through others' eyes, he doesn't judge. And he is there to support me, to support my kids. I don't know what I would do without him.
Linden, it's time for the official Linden Town Week Big People Party. This year, Big Man Tour Skylark. Join Go Mosley Entertainment on Thursday the 2nd of May at the Mackenzie Bandstand for 5 big bands: Stitchy, Super Ray, Murphy, the Castro Brothers, and for the first time in Linden, the one-woman band Queen Makiba.
Oh, when I see what I was getting, boy, I start to shiver, cause I know I'm gonna baby, that's get me young boy.
Plus DJ Granny Ivy will be live. Party like never before. It's a one-man band and one-woman band fete for Linden Town Week. Thursday the 2nd of May at the Mackenzie Bandstand. Big Man Tour Skylark. Compliments of GTT, Sheriff Security, 592 T's, Banks Beer, Guinness, and XM Rums. Drink responsibly for the official Linden Town Week Big People Party. Big Man Tour Skylark.
Mobil 1 is more than oil. It's many oils. It transforms at the molecular level. When cold, it's thicker than honey. When hot, it's thinner than water. Mobil 1 adapts and readapts to last longer. 16,000 kilometers between oil changes. That's your engine evolved.
Sol Guyana is the authorized distributor of Mobil lubricants.
Accounts Committee on Monday hauled former Region 2 REO Dennis Jankaran over the coals after it was revealed that the regional administration back in 2019 awarded 7 contracts totaling $63.1 million in violation of the Procurement Act. According to the procurement regulations, a region could request quotation for projects not exceeding $3 million. However, in 2019, the regional administration in Region 2 breached that regulation when it awarded 7 contracts totaling $63.1 million using a 3-code system instead of subjecting the contracts to open tendering. Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Gilda Shira told the PAC that awards were done in clear breach of the country's financial rules.
Clearly, this is a violation of the financial rules in that they seem to have been obtaining quotations or using a 3-code system without public tendering or without permission for restricted tenders. So this is to me, this is a serious violation because all of these went over the 3 million threshold that the regions are allowed.
The contracts included a $10.8 million contract for the construction of a sanitary block at a Sunny Primary School, a $10.6 million contract for the installation of solar systems at 3 health posts at Bethany, Kapui, and St. Denis, a $10.6 million contract for the installation of solar systems at another 3 health posts, this time at Taquini, Abrams Creek, and Mora, and a $10.5 million contract for the rehabilitation of the Charity Secondary School. 3 other contracts were also awarded, all exceeding $3 million but less than $10 million. But when the former REO was called upon to provide the PAC with answers, he sought to defer the question to the regional engineer, telling the committee that he could not recall why the 3-quotation system was used instead of open tendering.
I don't recall at this stage why a 3-quote system would have been used, and it is difficult for me to make any assumption which I don't want to make. And to answer that question, all I'd say, I cannot recall why is it the 3-code system was used.
Minister of Public Infrastructure Juan Edgel said to compound the situation, several requests by the Auditor General's office to the regional administration for the minutes of the evaluation committee to be handed over were met with mere promises. In the absence of those minutes, Minister Edgel said it was important for the former REO to provide the required answers. But Jankaran, who appeared incensed, told the committee that he should not be made to repeat himself, insisting that the minutes were presented to the Auditor General's office and with copies left in the care of the regional administration when he demitted office back in August of 2020. He maintained that at the moment he could not recall why the 3-quotation system was used.
Mr. Chairman, my only response to that question is, again, I don't recall, and I'm not going to be able at this stage to posit any answer to that question posed to me.
Could the former REO recall this matter being raised as an audit query? Member Jankaran?
Yeah, I don't recall because, as I said, I based my facts on the letter dated the 5th of August when we were about to make submissions as it relates to the 2019 Auditor General's report. And I stand by that.
The former REO seems to be very aware of the laws and the processes that have to be followed. Could he highlight to the PAC what is his understanding of restrictive tendering? Go ahead, Member Jankaran.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, quickly. That question that is now posed to me, as I want to remind the member that I'm a private citizen, and when I was REO, if that question was posed to me, I would have been in a better position to better understand and answer the question. But at this stage, I don't have any information that I throw those information through the window since 2020 when I left office. And I don't look back at procurement procedures and what have you. What I do look at is that every day I read one book more valuable than any procurement act, so I can't report on that. and a book that I'm reading, and honestly reading and sincerely reading, is the Bible.
And firing back at Jankaran Finance Secretary Sir Krishnalal Pasha told the committee that it is unclear what Bible the former REO is reading, but it could not be the one that preaches peace and respect. Pasha said Jankaran must be honest with himself and provide the appropriate answer. However, the PAC chairman, Jermaine Figueroa, told Pasha that while members of the Public Accounts Committee may not be pleased with the response, they must accept it, noting that the former REO is not the first official to appear before the committee and indicated he cannot recall. But Edgell maintained that the RDC on the Jankaran had breached the Procurement Act and it must not be understated. The Audit Office has since been asked to launch a further investigation into the issue. Turning now to the power supply problems that have been haunting parts of the country. 3 additional generators are set to be installed at the Guyana Power and Light Company's substation in Columbia, East Coast of Marara. The move is set to address the spate of long and frequent power outages which have gripped the country over the last 3 weeks. The generators form part of the government's $27 million funded project to enhance the power company's capacity. The project includes 17 generators and 6 step-up transformers which are expected to contribute 30 megawatts of power to the national grid. GPL has so far confirmed the installation of 14 of the 17 generators, but despite that, lengthy power outages have persisted. A release from the Department of Public Information explained that the generators were procured from Apan Energy Services Incorporated. Prime Minister Mark Phillips visited the GPL substation yesterday to assess the progress made so far for the installation of the generators. GPL currently has an installed capacity of 166 megawatts, while the current demand is over 180 megawatts. Just last week, Vice President Bara Jagdeo explained that with all of the development taking place in the country, the demand for electricity could be expected to expand to 300 megawatts.
Look at the breathtaking beauty of the Essequibo, from its pristine rivers to its abundant resources. It's a treasure that belongs to Guyana, and we ask Venezuela to respect the rule of international law.
Our commitment to this land is not just about ownership. It's about preserving its beauty and resources for our people and future generations.
The controversy between Guyana and Venezuela was settled internationally as full, perfect and final in 1899. Essequibo belongs to Guyana.
Guyana's economy is rapidly transforming, and we're all part of it. Guyoil is at the forefront of this development by providing reliable and efficient energy and supporting community development from the very core. 100% of Guyoil's profit goes back to building schools, roads, and other important infrastructure that connects our cities and towns, providing fuel to domestic, marine, industrial, and aerial transportation. Guyoil has now repositioned itself as a market leader in the petroleum industry, building a better future for all of us. It's one of your biggest goals, getting your own home, where memories are made, where happiness lives. You may feel that home ownership or renovation is beyond your reach, but we at Republic want you to know that there's always a way. Ask us about our suite of mortgages. Let's help make your housing wishes come true, or advise on how the equity in your existing home can finance other dreams and goals. Call or go online to learn more.
Holiday spending put a dent in your cash. Top up your pockets in the Cash Splash promotion. Win over $5 million, including over $1 million in our weekly draws. Just purchase any Buster, Turbo, Fruita, Cool Kids or Viva. Look for the 8-digit code starting with 786. Then visit Facebook or IG at Buster Guyana or Turbo_Caribbean for more details.
With your regional and international news tonight, I'm Svetlana Marshall. In the region, the Barbados-based Caribbean Climate Outlook Forum, in its heat outlook for April to September 2024, predicts that near-record heat can be expected until October, particularly in August and September. According to the outlook, Belize is forecast to be hotter than usual. Additionally, record nighttime and daytime heat is expected by August and September. The outlook said increasingly frequent and possibly intense episodes of heat stress in the vulnerable population and small livestock is likely due to high temperature and increasing humidity in September. Another implication is the need for cooling will rise earlier and faster than in most other years, peaking in August and September. Usually there are 15 to 20 heatwave days inland Belize and Trinidad, 5 to 15 days in Jamaica, Cuba and Puerto Rico, and less than 10 days elsewhere. Police in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are investigating the grim discovery of 2 male bodies in the vicinity of a playing field in Park Hill. The deceased have since been identified as Marvin Barker and Calvert Smart. According to the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force, RSVGPF, on Monday around 12:24 p.m., police were alerted to the presence of 2 partially burned bodies found at the rear of a dwelling house in the Park Hill area. Officers responded to the scene. The identities of the deceased were confirmed by their family members. The bodies were transported to the Kingston mortuary, where a postmortem examination is scheduled to determine the cause of death. The RSVGPF said it is committed to a thorough investigation into the incident as it extended condolences to the families and friends of the deceased. And finally tonight, international news. Hamas said on Tuesday that an Israeli proposal on a ceasefire in their war in Gaza did not meet the demands of Palestinian militant factions, but it would study the offer further and deliver its response to mediators. According to Reuters, the proposal was handed to the Palestinian Islamist movement by Egyptian and Qatari mediators at talks in Cairo that aim to find a way out of the devastating war in the Gaza Strip, now in its 7th month. Residents said Israeli forces kept up airstrikes in central Gaza and Rafah on the enclave's southern edge on Tuesday. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has repeatedly flagged plans for a ground assault on Rafah, where more than 1 million displaced civilians are holed up, despite international calls for restraint. The talks in Cairo, also attended by the director of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, William Burns, have so far failed to reach a breakthrough towards pausing the war. In a statement, Hamas said it is interested in reaching an agreement that puts an end to the aggression on its people. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Svetlana Marshall reporting and encouraging you to stay safe.